Namanda, namanda, namanda.
Good morning. I welcome all of you to a very warm and muggy day here at Konohongaji Buddhist Temple. A very warm aloha to our special guest, Bishop Eric Matsumoto. I can't see him behind here, but I hope he's sitting down. He's going to be our guest speaker today. And welcome to all of you, especially the dads in the room. This is Happy Father's Day as well. It's a special day that we celebrate all over the world. And I'm a dad, just like some of you are out there. When we celebrated Mother's Day and Children's Day last month, it was mentioned that without moms, there would be no children, and vice versa. Well, today, we honor the very important third party, okay? We're number 3, not 1, not 2, but 3, because without dads, there would be no children or moms. Okay, Betty's going to explain that later on. Fathers, mothers, and children are a wonderful example of the interconnectedness that exists in this world. If you don't know, my name is Dean Wemura. I will be your MC for today. Assisting at the temple with technical support are the Zoom crew members, Alan Matsumoto and Darren and Lynn Katayama. Corrine Chong is our organist, and Betty Takioka will lead the singing. Let's start the service by rising for the Vandana and Tisarana. So please rise. We'll give Reverend Blaine the honors. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with him. Those of you on Zoom, be sure you have muted your mics.
Butsunamanda, 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 Butsunamanda.
Please remain standing for the aspiration which I will share with you. These are the words of Shinran from the hymns of the Pure Land Masters. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and mother, full of love and compassion for us. Guiding us through various skillful means, they bring us to awaken the supreme Shinjin. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Please be seated. We will now have our offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us now observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in the chanting of the Sutra 12 Homages, or English Junirai. Words can be found on the laminated handouts in the back of the pews and on the screen.
The Junidai, or 12 Homages, was composed by Nagarjuna, the first of the 7 masters of Jodo Shinshu. Nagarjuna celebrates the beauty, the grandeur, and preciousness of the Pure Land, which manifests the virtues of Amida Buddha and expresses the desire to be born in the realm of awakening. The phrase Koga Chorai Mida Son, or thus I bow to Amida, is repeated 10 times and has the same meaning as Namo Amida Butsu. This expression of dedication reminds us of our commitment to the Buddha and the land of peace, where everyone attains the highest fulfillment of Buddhahood. Gazen meno mawina tu Amida the revered in Buddha's wondrous pure land. Bodhisattvas gather round, golden form like the mountain king, steadfast like the elephant's pace, Buddha's eyes like the blue lotus. Thus I bow to Amida, Buddha's form round like the moon, bright like 1,000 suns and moons, Buddha's voice like the nightingale. Thus I bow to Amida, Buddha's figure on Kanon's crown, adorned with wondrous features. Buddha subdues evilness. Thus I bow to Amida, beyond compare Amida's pure, virtue shining clear like space, all benefit from Buddha. Thus I us to praise Amida, primal vow made for our sake. Thus I bow to Amida, golden bonds where lotus bloom, towers a throne of goodness. Buddha lives like the mountain king. Thus I bow to Amida. Bodhisattvas come afar, attaining true happiness. They revere the Buddha's face. Thus I bow to Amida. All life changes like the dew. We have no permanent self. Buddha teaches this law to all. Thus I bow to Amida. No evil in the Pure Land, and no fear of evil paths. Faithful hearts honor Buddha. Thus I bow to Amida, saving us through many ways. No tempters, no evil friends. Birth leads to enlightenment. Thus I bow to Amida. Amida, thus I have praised. Virtues boundless like the sea. These virtues shared with others, for birth into the Pure Land. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandab, 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 Namadatsu, Namadatsu, Namadatsu.
Please rise for the Gatha Hotoke-sama 2. Words can be found on page 74 of the Praises of the Buddha Gatha book and on the screen. Again, page 74 in the Gatha book. Please rise.
To my dear Amida Hotoke-sama, when I call your name, I think of my mother dear, just as in her arms I'd like to be, held by you so tenderly, Hotoke-sama. To my dear Amida Hotoke-sama, when I call your name, I think of my father dear, just as by his hand I'd like to be, led by you so surely, Hotoke-sama. Louder. To my dear Amida Hotoke-sama, when I offer altar light and I clearly see noble, gentle form in a golden light, I feel oh so close to you, Hotoke-sama.
You may be seated. All right. It is with great honor that I introduce to you our guest speaker and my classmate, Eric Matsumoto, or Bishop Eric Matsumoto, for just a few more days. Okay. As you all know, Bishop Matsumoto was born and raised in Kona. He is the son of the late Glenn Matsumoto and his mother, Anne. Alan is his brother. Bishop Matsumoto spent much of his youth attending services at this very temple, being a very active member of the junior YBA. He attended Hononau Elementary School and graduated from Konawaena High and Intermediate School in 1977. He furthered his education at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where he majored in history and liberal studies and excelled in the study of Japanese language and culture. He obtained his bachelor's degree in 1983. In 1988, he received his Tokudo ordination. In 1991, Bishop Matsumoto graduated from Ryukoku University Graduate School in Kyoto, Japan, with a master's degree in Shin Buddhist Studies. He also received his Kyoshi that year. Bishop Matsumoto began his ministerial career with the Hawaii Kyodan as an associate minister at Hompa Honganji Hawaii Betsuin for 2 years. He spent the next 8 years on the Big Island as minister of the North Hawaii 4 temples, Honoka, Kamuela, Kohala, and Pauilo Honganji Buddhist temples. He was then transferred to Mo'iliili Honganji Buddhist Temple, where he served as a resident minister for 9 years. On March 1st, 2011, he assumed the role of the office of the bishop as the 16th bishop of Hompa Honganji Mission of Hawaii. He has faithfully and honorably served for 12 years as bishop, and his third term comes to an end in 2 weeks on June 30th. We at Kona Honganji are so proud of his many years of service and are happy that we have this opportunity to hear him speak one last time officially as bishop. Bishop Matsumoto's Buddhist name is Shaku Horaku, meaning disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha, Dharma pleasure. He is married to wife Tamayo and has two children, daughter Chika and son Kaden. Please give a warm welcome, aloha, to Bishop Eric Matsumoto.
Aloha kako and good morning. Thank you, Dean, for that introduction. uh, it's an honor to be here, and as Dean had mentioned, to be able to come to Kona one last time before I do um, uh, leave the office of the bishop. But there is a very, very special reason that not only, of course, to meet all of you one more time, but also there is another reason, and it's before all of you this morning, that I wanted to bring back to Kona this image of Amida Buddha, which I will talk about in my message as well. But today I'd like to, again, begin my message on this Father's Day by um, asking a question. What's higher than the highest mountain and deeper than the deepest ocean? According to Chinese sources, it is the love of parents for their children. So today, again, as our MC mentioned, to all fathers, regardless if they're alive or deceased, a very happy Father's Day. And a thank you. If you would allow me to indulge a personal favorite this morning, I'd like to remember my own dad as we observe Father's Day today. As we express our gratitude and honor our fathers today, I'd like to share an opening reflection, two abbreviated and slightly adapted quotes of Shinran Shonin. If you join me for a reflection. When we say Namo Amida Butsu, the Bodhisattva of compassion and the Bodhisattva of wisdom, together with countless Bodhisattvas, always accompany us. The Bodhisattva of compassion, who appeared as Prince Shotoku, is like a father, never leaves us, and like a mother, always watching over us. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Now, let me begin my message by saying something that I hope you do not misunderstand. As a Jodo Shinshu minister, although there is great satisfaction when you see many people come to a service, and I thank all of you for being here today, but there is a greater sense of fulfillment that I think I can say, generally speaking, on behalf of many ministers, that when you see even a few people nodding their heads in agreement, that they understand what is being shared, is such a source of joy. Traditionally, in our Honganji circles, this kind of acknowledgement was expressed by spontaneously voicing Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu. And the minister did not take it as interrupting his or her Dharma talk. It was a welcomed and wonderful way of expressing agreement or affirming what is being said. Again, for ministers, there no greater joy than hearing the Nembutsu sincerely and naturally being recited by people. It's a kind of a chicken skin experience, I think, which brings forth a sense of gratitude beyond words, meaning that words just can't capture, express that full depth of that feeling. This was probably maybe one of the memorable experiences that many had who journeyed to Japan this past May for the joint celebration at the main temple. Although I have to admit, when I compared to when I was studying in Japan, those voices of Namanda Butsu, happening again spontaneously and very naturally was less. And so there is a definite, change that has taken place. But again, traditionally in our tradition, when something moves you or touches you, don't hesitate to say Namandabutsu. The minister, whoever, will not take it as being rude and interrupting the message. In fact, again, it's welcome. As we observe this year, the joint celebration of Shinran Shonin's birth and the establishment of our tradition, let us know that Namo Amida Butsu, or in Namo Amida Butsu, we find ourselves connected. Of course, first and foremost, we are connected to Amida Buddha, you and I personally. We are forever connected in Namo Amida Butsu. But that's not all to me. In that Nembutsu experience, we sense that we are all connected, that we are connected to all others too. Not only those we personally know. It's not only those who are alive right now, but even those who existed in the past, and even those who do not yet exist. For Namo Amida Butsu is timeless. When I think about it for myself, this is the resolution of my grandmother's death. Through the wisdom of enlightenment, the teachings of impermanence, I can accept the fact that she died. But through the great compassion, I still feel connected to her because, again, Namo Amida Butsu is connected to all life, all existence, past, present, and future. Renyo Shonin, our eighth spiritual leader, explained this connection or relationship we have with the Buddha in this way. There's a Japanese expression, Kiho Ittai no Namo Amida Butsu, in which it says Ki, which is all of us, the object of liberation, this Bombu I, and Amida Butsu, which is whole, the Dharma, or the teachings that save or embraces. They come together in Namo Amida Butsu. And in this way, with the arising of Shinjin, we are forever connected and embraced. The voice that recites Namo Amida Butsu might be mine, but the inspiration, the impetus, comes from far beyond me. It is the call of something much larger, much bigger than myself. As I often say, it's all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion itself. The Reverend Zuike Inagaki shares, without being asked, Amida moves first by calling, come just as you are. The source of the call is great compassion that feels the suffering of others as its own suffering. A devout Nembutsu follower, Mrs. Hinamori, expressed it this way. She said, I thought the Nembutsu that I uttered was my own, but it was not. It was Amida's call. How grateful indeed I am. Namo Amida Butsu. While worrying over my daily life, fretting about things, I am all the time in company of Amida. How grateful I am. Namo Amida Butsu. Mrs. Hori has problems, issues, just as we all do. But in a sense, she's not bound by them as many of us might be. Although she's not free from wants and fears, at the same time, she is not trapped by them. She continues, quote, day in and day out, I am with Amida. Let the sun set whenever it pleases. How grateful I am. Namo Amida Butsu. Another devout person of the Nembutsu also shared, as for Namo Amida Butsu, It is ever with me. I am ever with it. While asleep, Namo Amida Butsu. While awake, Namo Amida Butsu. While walking or resting, while sitting or lying down, Namo Amida Butsu. And did you know, I know of persons, even here in Kona, who actually did that. But we'll save that maybe for another day. But this is Namo Amida Butsu that is forever together with us. In these individuals, Namo Amida Butsu is supporting them, giving them strength and insight, even to the point that death itself, the greatest challenge to life, no longer holds a fearful sway upon them, as evidenced by Mrs. Mori's words, "Let the sun set whenever it pleases." Please don't misinterpret her words. She's not saying that she doesn't care about herself or others anymore, but rather being embraced by boundless wisdom and compassion. Whatever comes her way, be it positive or negative, good or bad, happy or unhappy, all pale when compared to great compassion that she finds embracing her. And there's a sense of joy, gratitude, and well-being, despite the fact of one's outer conditions of life. This may sound hard to believe, but it is true. I have seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears. In my 30 years of ministry, I've had the good fortune of meeting several people who genuinely and calmly shared the same sentiments as they too approached death. Sensei, I have no regrets. I am fine. You don't have to worry about me. I can remember very clearly 2-3 cases in which I didn't have the traditional Makuragyo service with them, for they didn't need it. All we did was put our hands together and say, Namo Amida Butsu. And that was it. But that is all of it. And for me, it was an experience that I will never forget. But the common thing between all these individuals were that they had come to temple earlier in their life and had listened to the Dharma, heard the call of Namo Amida Butsu. But many times, what I did also find out, though, was that many of their family members misinterpreted their words or actions. They feel like, oh, Grandpa has given up, or Grandma no longer loves us. They take it kind of negatively, but it's completely the opposite, actually. These individuals are expressing that they have lived a full life, not to worry about them. They have gone beyond the attachments that many of us have in samsaric life. It doesn't mean that they no longer love their families, but because family members are kind of not on the same wavelength, it sounds kind of pessimistic to them. The Nembutsu followers are focusing on the oneness of all life in Namo Amida Butsu. They're not seeing themselves as becoming separated through death. Rather, they see themselves as becoming one, connected with all those around them. Perhaps kind of similar to what I heard recently. How do the indigenous peoples of Hawaii, the Hawaiians, see the ocean? We kind of see it many times as separating us, right? Like Hawaii and the mainland, or having to fly all the way to Japan. But to the Hawaiians, the ocean is what connects all the continents. And so it's a very different perspective, which, again, was an awakening for myself. So instead of a feeling of separation and loneliness, for many of the Nembutsu, there is one of oneness and togetherness. Reverend Zuike Inagaki shares, no Buddha apart from me, no me apart from Buddha. Time to fall, referring to death, is time to float, being saved with our birth in the Buddha's pure land. This becoming one with all others culminates with our birth in the Pure Land. However, the awareness, again, I believe we can understand or begin to sense even right here, right now, as we live day to day. In this sense, we are never alone, for we are connected. For it is the nature of great compassion to always be together with one and all. I believe this is the message that Shinran Shonin shares with us. Have you ever wondered why the name of the Buddha is Amida? Shinran Shonin shares in one of his poems, seeing the sentient beings of the Nembutsu throughout the universe. The Buddha grasps and never abandons them, and therefore is named Amida. That is the meaning of the name Amida, one who embraces, never to forsake. For Shinran Shonin, I think this was hugely important. When we reflect on his life, we know that he was separated from his mother and father at a very early age, probably before he was even 9. For a child, separation from parents is probably one of the most traumatic experiences they can have. And so it might not be so unusual that there are many hymns written by Shinran which refer to mothers and fathers, including some dedicated to Prince Shotoku, whom I'd like to honor today on Father's Day. Prince Shotoku of Japan is one of the greatest Buddhist heads of state in world history. He was a crown prince, but is noted together with King Ashoka of India as being one of the most outstanding Buddhist government leaders in the world. As a testimony to his greatness, he was revered even on the Asian mainland, along with Genshin, one of the 7 great masters. Both were noted for their writings and recognized even beyond Japan. That is quite an accomplishment, I feel. It's perhaps like someone from Hawaii becoming famous on the mainland. For us, I think Ellison Onizuka would come immediately to our minds. Prince Shotoku, according to many, wrote what is known as the 17-article Constitution in the year 604. And while it's not a constitution in what we might think today, but it did contain many things which, I'm going to make a political comment, but maybe many of our world leaders today can avail themselves to. But anyway, he emphasized things that our Buddhist tradition, for example, emphasizes, like harmony and not being blinded by our blind passions like greed and anger. For example, he said, quote, "Let us cease from wrath and refrain from angry looks, nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all people have hearts, and each heart has its own leanings. Their right is our wrong, our right is their wrong. We are not unquestionably sages, nor are they unquestionably fools. Therefore, although others give way to anger, let us on the contrary dread our own faults." End quote. And most directly referring to Buddhism, he wrote, quote, "Sincerely revere the 3 treasures. The 3 treasures are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. They are the final refuge of all life and are the supreme objects of faith in all countries. What person in what age can fail to revere this teaching? Few people are utterly bad. They may be taught to follow it. But if they do not betake themselves to the 3 treasures, how shall their crookedness be made straight?" End quote. And his most famous line from his constitution is, "Harmony should be valued, and wanton opposition should be avoided." He emphasized harmony as being very important. Prince Shotoku is sometimes referred to as, sorry, this is going to sound very patriarchal, but since it's Father's Day, please excuse me. He is regarded as the father of Japanese Buddhism. His endorsement of Buddhism and even lecturing on Buddhist sutras and building temples became the foundation of Japan adopting Buddhism. In the early days, there was opposition. He was a layperson and not ordained, but portraits of him, like the one that's hanging here, show him dressed in imperial court attire, but wearing a Buddhist kesa or Buddhist clergy vestments, and often holding a censer, a handheld incense burner in his hands. Shinran Shonin greatly revered Prince Shotoku and wrote several hymns in his honor, again espousing that he encouraged people to take refuge in the teachings, to build temples, and build Buddha images and so forth. But most importantly, he says, take refuge in Prince Shotoku of the country of Japan. Our indebtedness to his propagation of the Buddhist teachings is profound. His compassionate activity to save sentient beings is far-reaching. Do not be lax in reverent praise of him, end quote, was the extent that Shinran Shonin praised Prince Shotoku. I kind of sense maybe for Shinran Shonin, Prince Shotoku may have been a father-like figure. Not only in Jodo Shinshu, but all of Japanese Buddhism, we owe the depth of gratitude to Prince Shotoku. And for us too, that is why there is many times a scroll, a picture of Prince Shotoku in our altars. But for some reason, in our Honpa Honganji temples, we don't find either the scroll of Prince Shotoku or the scroll of the seven masters. Higashi Honganji temples many times do have them, but for some, again, reason, in our Honpa temples, we don't. I think Kona Honganji is the first example that you have formal official portraits of the seven masters and Prince Shotoku in your altar. So congratulations to you. It's another first, I believe, for Kona Honganji. But today, as I mentioned earlier, there is another first that I would like to highlight for today. Through wondrous causes and conditions that fill my heart with awe and gratefulness, today I accompany this image of Amida Buddha, which you see before you. Half jokingly, I refer to as the older brother of the current image of Amida Buddha that you have in your altar. As best we know right now, the Buddha image in the altar is apparently the second sandalwood image of Amida Buddha. The statue that you see below here, closer to you, might be the first and original that was carved in the early 1930s. It, as you can see, later you can come up closer to have a better look, develop a crack. Blocks of wood, many times, that's what happens, especially if it's a solid block. And so a second image, we think, was commissioned. And eventually, that's the image that you find in the altar here today. This particular image was kept by the Matsumoto family, a name that maybe some of you might remember. Takajiro Matsumoto was Kona Honganji Kyodan president from 1928 to 1932. His family had been caring for this image of the Buddha at their home, for close to 90 years. One day I got a call from Reverend Muneto, and he told me that the daughter of the Matsumoto family wanted us to come over to her house, her residence. To my surprise, it was the first time that I had seen this image. And they, becoming older, the daughter felt that they needed to, make sure that this image would be continued to be protected. So their wish was that the image of the Buddha return to Honpa Honganji. This was pre-COVID. And so, it came back to Honpa Honganji. And I don't mean any disrespect to the Matsumotos, but now, in a way, now that this image is at Honpa Honganji, it has come home. And today, it's truly a homecoming that I'm able to accompany it back to its original home. It's a homecoming in that sense for this image to again sit here at Kona Honganji. It was my fervent wish that it come home to Kona for you, the Sangha of Kono Honganji, to welcome it back during my tenure as your bishop to bring it full circle. Again, it's, as far as I know, only one of two Hawaiian sandalwood images of Amida Buddha in the world. And today, both images stand, here in this main sanctuary. It too is dated 1932, which is interesting. And it too is said to have been carved by the same Tendai monk on Mount Hiei. On the bottom, hidden, there is an inscription that has an aspiration, a rough translation of which is, quote, "Together with all others, may we all be born in the land of peace, the pure land of Amida Buddha," end quote. The Sangha of Kono Honganji, I share with you today a treasure that your Nembutsu predecessors created. Please be proud of your Shin Buddhist heritage legacy, which gave birth to such a treasure, together with the many devout Nembutsu, people of Nembutsu mentioned in Reverend Moneto's book, Dharma Treasures. For today, I'd like to repeat one of the poems written by those individuals who lived back here in Kona. She wrote, "In the heart of parents as immense as this universe, nothing is more cherished than a child. If you truly love your child, teach him or her well about the teachings of Buddha, attaining birth in the pure land of peace. That is the compassion of parents that forever remains. Let us say the Nembutsu in gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu," wrote Ume Hirano. Today, as we remember these father-like figures like Prince Shotoku, and each one of us, our fathers, our dads, let's not only physically remember them and recall what they look like, but again reflect on their love, protection that they provided to us. Then we may begin to see them, and even my own life, in a different light. I'll slowly conclude with this, but it's because I'm sure it's something that many of you have heard previously too. But this is the Chinese ideogram or kanji for parent, oya in Japanese. It's kind of complex, but an easy way to kind of remember this, so to speak, is in this way. Normally you don't explain it this way, but to make it easy to remember, it's divided into 3 parts. And the red part here is the Chinese character for tatsu, or means to stand or to rise, stand up. This here on the bottom, the green part, is the Chinese character for tree, ki. And this on my left here is miru, which means to see. And so we can kind of tell or say about our parents. Parents, when it comes to their children, are such that they're willing to even stand on top of a tree to watch over their children. And so it's maybe an easy way to kind of remember who is or what is a parent. It's not someone who's kind of, on the same plane with you, and something might get in the way and they can't see you. Parents will be willing to even climb on top of a tree so they can always have a clear view of what and where or how their children are doing. This, I believe, is the essence of a parent. And so today, as we remember, especially our fathers on this Father's Day, let's remember this Chinese character. And interestingly, in Honganji, we often refer to Amida Buddha as Oya-sama. Oya-sama, our great parent. One, again, I believe, who watches over us continually. To conclude, Shinran Shonin and all people of the Nembutsu live a life of gratitude and continually respond in gratitude to the Buddha's great compassion by reciting Nammanda Butsu. Shinran Shonin shared his happiness and joy with others, the joy of being embraced, never being alone, let us do the same and make manifest our slogan, sharing joy together. Before the closing reflection, since this is the last time that I was speaking to you here in person, I'd like to take this moment to express my deepest gratitude to all of you, the Sangha of Konahonganji, not only for the past 12 years, but even before that, as I started my studies in Japan back in 1987, and well, going even farther back, I believe, because we lived here in Kona. You know, the legacy of this temple is what provided me the opportunity to encounter these teachings. And it is your support of this temple that makes these teachings available to those who come along one day in pursuit of the Buddha Dharma. But again, an important part of the three treasures is the Sangha, and that is all of you. And so today, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. If you join me, I'd like to ask everyone to please join me in reciting Namo Amida Butsu, the Buddha's name, which I call in gratitude, in response to Namo Amida Butsu, the Buddha's name that calls me to entrust. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Entrusting in all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion. Namo.
Thank you for your message, Bishop Matsumoto. You know, before today's service, I had a chance to catch up with Bishop Matsumoto in the back, talk about the kids, what's up, what's going on, and so forth. And, we call him Bishop Matsumoto, but to me, he's just plain old Eric. From what I remember, back when, one of the things that I remember is he was always a nice guy, and you can see it when he speaks and stuff. He's still a nice guy. He's such a nice guy, and I was joking about this, but he's been bishop for 12 years. 12 years. So it's a 4-year term, so 3 4-year terms. But it was supposed to be only 2 4-year terms. But he's such a nice guy. They said by the end of his 2nd term, Hanaho, Hanaho, one more time. He said, yeah. So I was joking with, what if we say Hanaho again for another term? I can't see his face, but is he like smiling or what? So what he said is, it's time. It's time to move on. He's done a lot for all of us, so it's time to move on. His next assignment is at the Aya Honganji Buddhist Temple. I guess he's looking forward to it, but he said, there's going to be some changes because when you're the bishop, everybody does stuff for you. You have assistants, and they tell you where to go and stuff. Even when I asked him, what time's your flight? Oh, I don't know. Somebody made it for me. But now the change in life is he's going to do a lot of that by himself. He's going to have to book his own reservations and do his own scheduling and so forth. So it's going to be a change, but I think he's welcoming the opportunity to do that at his next assignment. Okay, we're going to bring up another classmate of Bishop Matsumoto, Wendy Terada. She will now lead us in unison in the reading of the Eightfold Path to Happiness. Wendy? Okay, here she comes. Words can be found in the handouts and on the screen.
I'm a bit short. Okay. The teachings of the Buddha help us to understand the oneness of all life. To lead us in the right direction, the Buddha provided us with the Eightfold Path. Right views, free of prejudice and superstition, and to see the true nature of life. Right thoughts, to turn our minds away from violence and hatred. Right speech, to refrain from harmful talk and to use our words wisely. Right conduct, to see that our deeds come from peace and goodwill, to grow every day in the Buddha's teachings. Right livelihood, to try to earn our living in such a way that we avoid causing suffering. Right energy, to use our energies to promote the overcoming of ignorance and destructive desires. Right mindfulness, to cherish a good mind, for all that we think and do has its roots in the mind. Right meditation, to study the teachings of the Buddha and to practice them to the best of our abilities. May the presence of the Buddha, who said that he would live in his teachings, be our guide. May we follow this path until we too realize nirvana.
Thank you, Wendy. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo for your generous contributions. Please rise as we will now conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namandab, 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 namandab. Namandabs, namandabs, namandabs.
This concludes today's service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. Regular Dharma family service will be held next Sunday, June 25th at 10 o'clock a.m. Linda Nagai will share a Dharma message, and she also plans to have a ukulele session after the service. So if you are interested, please bring your ukuleles and join us in the fun. Our first service next month will be the annual Obon Cemetery service on July 2nd. It will be held outdoors at the church cemetery at 10 o'clock a.m. Please mark your calendars and plan to join us. Regular Dharma family services will be held on July 9th and 16th at 10 o'clock a.m. The Konohonganji Bon Dance and Craft Fair will be held on Saturday, July 22nd from 6 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Let's all come out and support the vendors and enjoy the festive occasion. Bon Dance practices will be held at 7:30 p.m. every Monday and Thursday starting July 10th. Reminders? Be sure to open, read, and click on attachments and interesting links that are included in Reverend Blaine's weekly update, which he emailed this past Friday. Free COVID test kits with extended expiration dates till October 2023 are still available. Also, 125th anniversary merchandise are also still available for purchase. Are there any other announcements? Reverend Blaine or anyone else? Oh, we have one.
Good morning. Happy
Good
Father's
morning.
Day. My announcement is I want to share I was a lucky one today. I don't know, do you know why? I have opportunity to make a rice for the altar representing our Sangha. It's called obupan, and it shows our appreciation for the food and the sacrifices. Personally, food is very important part of my life. So I feel arigatai, grateful, and honor this opportunity. So since last year, 6 of us, Linda Nagai, Lynn Gassman, Mildred Kaneko, Betty Takeoka, Wendy Terada, and myself are taking a turn for Obupan. Unfortunately, I already scheduled until end of July, but after August to December, we have openings. So we have only 16 services from August to December. You might have only once or twice opportunities. And how to make obupan is very simple. You need to cook only 3 cups of rice to cook and make 4 big rice balls and 1 small one. The 2 goes to Amida Buddha and Shakyamuni Buddha in the center of the altar, and 1 each for Shinran Shonin and the Renyo Shonin. And small one goes to Columbarium, no Kotsudo. So if you like to have this opportunity to make obupan, please come see me during refreshment so I can schedule you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Maki, for your announcement. Also, thank you for coordinating the Obupan Toban. Also, regarding Toban, every Wednesday we have a group of volunteers that do come and help to replace and change the flowers both here in the temple and in the columbarium. And they're looking for some extra help. So if there's anybody who's interested, has some time on Wednesday morning, about 8 o'clock, they help and they clean the columbarium, they change the flowers, and they have some refreshments and coffee and talk story after. So it's both a little bit of work, but also a lot of fellowship as well. We could use your help if you're interested. They need at least 1 or 2 more people, and it doesn't have to be on a weekly basis, but if you have time to help out, that'd be wonderful. Like Maki mentioned, temple, and like Bishop mentioned, temple, and our temple really is sustained by the Sangha, right? That each of us, contributes what we can to this wonderful place that we can encounter the teachings of the Buddha and be together with friends and Dharma friends, and to grow and to learn together along this path and this journey. So thank you very much for all of your support and all your help. It really means a lot. I mean, and you can tell by how wonderful this temple is, by the community that we have here, but also by the beauty of this temple, right? From the altar to the grounds to everything here on this property. So it's really because of all of you. So thank you for everything. So mahalo. And thank you very much to Bishop for joining us today one last time as Bishop. We look forward to working with you, continuing to work with you as a fellow minister, temple minister again. So after all this time, so.
Are there any other announcements? All right, this concludes our service for today. For those of you on Zoom, when you're ready to leave, just tap or click on the Leave Meeting button on your screen. Those of you here in person, please proceed to the social hall for a Mahalo Fellowship time with Bishop Matsumoto. Thank you all to all of you who have brought dishes to share. And again, happy Father's Day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Don't call me again. 12:30, okay. Oh, 808, 987, 6858. Okay, great. You're welcome.